Do you host retreats right now?
So I've just published a retreat in Colombia where I've
That's where Vanessa is. Where in
oh
Colombia?
there you go. This one is just outside Medellin. So it's
Oh,
about an
he's in
hour.
Medellin. Vanessa's family's avocado farmers in Colombia. Where were you
Oh,
again,
wow.
Vanessa? I always forget.
I'm in Cali. That's the
She's in
south.
Cali. Okay, so you're
Oh
going to
wow,
Medellin.
different part of the world. Okay.
Great, good for you. Is
Colombia.
this your first retreat?
So this is the first that I'm doing solo. I've
Got it.
co-facilitated lots within an existing structure, and this is the first one that I'm creating from scratch myself.
Great,
So
wonderful. How can we help?
I am so this my first focus is going to be for men, and
Thank
I'm kind of
God.
I'm kind of doing the anti men's retreat in the sense that there's a lot of these retreats that they promise all this kind of like you're going to step into your power, you're going to achieve a lot, and I'm like the anti-achiever. Like I'm a recovering very high achiever, and I'm trying to pitch this as we're actually going to slow down and we're going to try and kind of be in our feminine and our masculine, right? So
Hmm.
I'm wondering how specific I need to be because I've seen some of your content of promising results, and that's true of all types of retreats, but it seems like especially for men, men have this tendency to need something concrete to happen. And I'm going for kind of the more restful, yes, we
Ooh.
can go deep, and yes, there'll be a lot of healing, but how specific do I need to be in terms of what they'll get?
It's a great question, Adam. Let's talk around it a little bit, okay? So this is the first time I know that you're doing it on your own. Is this the first time that you've held a men's container?
First, no, but first kind of multi-day, yes.
Okay, who's your audience of men? Just give me that idea. Like when you think of the men that are going to join you,
Probably people like I can only teach from my own lived experience, so it would be initially men who don't have any relationship really with their bodies, men who are kind of burnt out and in this perpetual corporate achievement phase, and men who
was that
tend to,
you? Was that you?
oh yeah, big time, and men
Is
who
that
tend to,
still you?
no, I left that, yeah,
Okay. How many years ago?
uh, just 1.5 or
Okay,
so.
so for everybody that's listening, just so you know, he's saying a lot of the right things to be very successful. He knows that he's creating, Adam, I always break out and let people know what they're seeing so that way everybody can learn together. He knows that he's creating the retreat that he probably most needed 5 or 10 years ago. And again, and or 15 or 20 or however many years ago you got into corporate, Adam, because again and again what we see in terms of people that do well on retreats, it's they realize they're creating it for the version of themselves that was 10 years before. So it's beautiful what you just said, and I acknowledge it. So men who are burnt out, men who aren't really, this is great, who aren't really connected to their bodies.
Yeah, or to their feminine part who don't really move around, who are kind of up in their heads a lot. And the
Got
last
it.
piece would be, again, which I would have needed and still need sometimes, is getting into very similar relationship patterns and not understanding why
Mm-hmm.
we end up in patterns that are unhealthy or we run
Give
away
me an
and
example of a relationship pattern that's unhealthy that you've ended up in.
ooh, oh gosh.
I know, we're going there.
We're going there. Okay. Well, running away too soon, getting into that
Yeah,
anxious, avoidant dance,
yeah.
and
Running
one
away too
not
soon. Why? What's there when you ran away too soon?
fear of intimacy, fear of
Yeah.
being vulnerable, fear of getting hurt,
Yeah.
and not knowing, like encouraging men also to know that they're allowed to have needs and that they need to express those in relationship, otherwise the relationship like dies. So that kind of
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm so grateful for how clear and specific you are. And I am going to answer your question, but I just wanted to understand if you had the foundation, which you obviously do, for what I'm going to share. I am curious. You said that this is really for men who are in their heads a lot. They're not moving around a lot. They're not in their feminine a lot. Um, for you, presuming you've been there, what did that cost you? And I want you to think about that for just a second. For everyone who's watching, what I'm doing right now is when you can start to really get clear on what something has cost you, you can articulate the needs, wants, and wounds on your landing page and your emails and your invites to be able to really attract your right fit client. And luckily, we have a pretty cool guy here, Adam, who's coming in from Santa Cruz, who's willing to have these conversations. But each one of you that are hosting retreats, you should have a buddy like me I mean, I'm not available to your buddy, but you should have a buddy like me who can actually extract these types of pearls and wisdom. So, Adam, tell me, what was the cost to you when you were running around in corporate, I assume, disconnected to your body? And again, I'm just using his words, you guys, disconnected from your body, not in touch with your feminine. What did it cost you?
So
What's it? Is
sacrificing
it costing you something now? I mean, maybe it's present.
intimacy, wanting relationships and loneliness and not knowing what to do about it, and a lot of
Not knowing what
substance.
to do is in your head. What did it do to your body and to your
Oh,
heart?
very, very stiff. No connection.
Yeah.
Like no, no
Yeah.
real connection with my own heart.
And
And
what did you want most more than anything else in those days?
what did I want most? I wanted to not I couldn't didn't I wanted to not feel what I was feeling a lot of the time, and I didn't know what to do about it.
Mm.
And when I kept achieving and kept getting praised, and then it was never enough, I didn't understand why the thing that I thought was going to lead to contentment and happiness wasn't
Ah,
actually working and never would.
ah. Okay, so I'm reflecting this back to you as you think about your three needs deep, which is something that we teach here. And it wasn't just that you were disconnected from your body, wanting more feminine, wanting more interaction with your feminine, and then feeling probably alone that you didn't know how to get it or even talk about it, but you were also getting praised for what you were doing well. Is that right? I mean, I'm using my own words there.
Yeah, yeah, and rewarded
And
for
that's what I meant, praised and rewarded.
yeah,
So is this a retreat? Again, flipping this because we're always flipping it. I mean, I'm interested in you, but I'm also interested in your retreat being successful. That's where these
me
questions
too.
are. So flipping it, and it's like, okay, is this actually a retreat for high performing men that actually get rewarded for all the good work they do, but inside they're feeling lonely? They don't know how to express themselves. They're feeling kind of stiff.
Something like that, yeah.
Your words, not mine. I'm just checking in.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. But it's hard for them to even say it because their whole identity is built around this high achieving model, and the risk of not getting those rewards and praise is seems too great.
Yes, it does. And as men, we are incredibly, and I will put a we in there, having gone to men's intimacy retreats, we are incredibly lonely. And we actually don't know what to do about it many times. And we don't even want to acknowledge it because to acknowledge it opens the wound that we've kind of been pretending isn't even there. So
Mhm.
you have a challenge, my friend, to figure out how to frame this in a way where the men that you're going to serve get something that they want so that you get their asses to Colombia and they get what they really need. You have to, it's not a bait and switch. I'm not suggesting a bait and switch. And by the way, this is everybody who has this specific of a right fit client. Adam's going to do great because he is like so niched down, but nobody wants to just go right into disturbing feeling the pain that I think probably some people, even watching you and I right now, Adam, can feel like, ooh, that loneliness and that heaviness that men, you can feel it, right?
I wasn't expecting this deep dive, but here we are.
Well,
Yeah.
here we are. This is what we do here at Imaloa, dude. I don't know what these other retreat centers are doing, but this is what we're doing, okay? Other retreat centers are taking your money. We're actually getting in and figure out what the core shit is. That's why everyone's hosting here. So that is really, you want to be able to feel that when you go into it, but there has to be a way. So let me ask you a question. Knowing that this is now what's at stake, you have the lives of men at stake. You got a future that you probably don't quite know how to create yet, and you're in the process of pursuing it. If you have to educate men and bring them into simpatico, kind of like you have to bring them into right relationship with each other without totally exposing the need and the want and the wound just yet, because that needs to be saved for Colombia. How do you imagine with our methodology? We always say teach to sell. How would you start to think about how you might attract these types of men into at least a preliminary conversation?
Sharing parts of my own experience to kind of send out a
Do they already
signal.
know you? Do they already know the people that you're thinking that you're going to go share your experience with? Do they know you?
Uh, Not some I know personally, but I don't know if I can rely on my existing network.
Well, also don't rely on your story.
Right.
Your story comes secondary to the questions that you ask. So you have to figure out some way to get them in. Your story matters. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but to really ask them questions about themselves first. Think about it. If I were talking about how great of a person I am, which by the way I am, people would be tuning out of these office hours. Instead, I come in with you, boom, boom, boom. We're asking questions, and we're in the Adam universe in Santa Cruz. And people love it, by the way. Think about that in relationship to your men. Your story is important. Imaloa has a certain story that got people here into this group
I
setting.
haven't seen one with the doors that open like
Can you
this.
can you mute? Thank you, Vanessa. So you have to really think about how you're going to start to teach to sell. What kind of environment are you going to bring people into? And don't lead with your story, not just yet. You want to be with people as they are, not necessarily as who you are. That will help them open up.
Can you say more what what you mean by that, the teach to sell?
Yeah. So, for example, we're teaching a lot in office hours,
Hmm.
and we end up signing contracts out of office hours. It's the primary reason why we do this. I mean, I love doing it, but I also open my kimono so that everybody can see, hey, this is how we do it for our hosts, and this is how hosts can then do it for their people. Creating a community environment where people can see each other, identify with each other, and be like, oh, I actually want to hang out with that person. That sounds interesting. And then that's where a lot of our relationships begin. So, figuring out an environment, for example, is it a weekly men's meetup on Zoom? Do you become the guy who's doing the weekly men's meetup, dealing with the real issues of loneliness and reward? The reward piece, I don't think can be underestimated. The fact that you were rewarded for all those years, despite the incredible loneliness and disconnection from your body, you are singing the truth of so many men right now, Adam. Now, if we had a whole hour together, we could go deep and figure out how to invite men who have that piece about them into a group environment to just start having the conversation, kind of like what we're doing right now. And then eventually you'll create that know, like, and trust. And then you'll be able to invite them to your Columbia retreat. When's your Columbia retreat?
Not till mid-May.
Gosh, I wish I was in this hemisphere in mid May. Actually, I am here in mid May. I would totally consider doing that. I'm totally enrolled. I've enrolled myself. I can just, good salespeople can do that. They can just sell themselves on shit. But I'm totally enrolled, mate. Was this helpful at all? I know we've just scratched the surface.
Very, yeah, really, really helpful to flip that kind of focusing on just putting myself out there to saying like, how are you doing? And like, oh, by the way, I also have had this experience.
Totally. Totally. And it's so, I mean, you're welcome. And it's what every single retreat leader on this call or who's watching afterwards should be doing. You have to flip the experience. Enough with thinking that your story, not you, Adam, but other people and you too, enough with thinking that your story matters or that you even matter. I
Yeah.
mean, we live in this woke world where it's like, you matter, you matter. We actually don't. Get with the program, folks. I mean,
Yeah.
this is gone in 50 years for most of us. Like, come on. That is so ego revving. The ego's doing pull ups and push ups. Start to serve. I was just in India for a month, Adam, at a Panchakarma. Think of it like a complete oil change for the body. Oy. And I remember, because my mind goes a lot, you can probably tell. And I remember the lead doctor in the middle of India in Panchakarma, it was my 30s, like the mind should be used for one thing, not to figure things out, not to do your numbers, not to do all these negotiations that you do. The mind should do one thing, and that is to serve. That is to serve. Just keep serving.